You're listening to The Edge with Mark Thompson.
Hi, this is Mark, and welcome to the show. Yes, we have Michael Shure, fresh from the road. He was deep embedded in Trump country. He will talk about the Trump voter. I mean, the immovable Trump voter. I believe we also, do we get into George Takei or something? There was a weird George Takei. Anyway, it's a good ride with Michael Shure, so we'll talk politics and more in the Fast 15. It runs about 21 minutes. Then we'll visit with Merrill Markoe, but not before we welcome Heather back to the show. Heather Ankeny, my co-host on this show for 4 years, has moved to Northern California, but she came back through town and paid a visit to the show. J. Elvis Weinstein, my stalwart co-host, also sits in for that conversation, and we talk to producer, writer, comedian Merrill Markoe. So it's Michael Shure, Heather returns with J. Elvis Weinstein, and we chat with Merrill Markoe. You can support this show in a couple of different ways. One is to subscribe on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Overcast, any place you can subscribe to this show. We would appreciate you subscribing and downloading our show, leaving us positive reviews, even a word or two, like listen to it, like it, catch it when I can. 5 stars helps us stay toward the top of the queue in the podcast universe. And to help us keep the lights on this show, if you make a contribution, we have a virtual tip jar through PayPal. You can click on our site, edge-show.com, edge-show.com. Every dollar stays with this show. Also, see the Amazon banner when you see it anywhere on our site. If you click on an episode, you'll see Shop Amazon or something like that. If you are going to shop Amazon, please do it through our click-through at edge-show.com. We get a little piece of whatever you spend. It's the same Amazon, not more expensive. It's the same Amazon you're visiting anyway, but they track the fact that you came through our site, and as a result, they spin us off a little something. Those are the ways you support us. Thank you for being here. We're on YouTube, we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, and you can reach us at our email address, edgewithmarkthompson@gmail.com. Is that everything? Let's see. I've described the show. I've begged for money. I've told you how you can reach us. Let's get started.
This is The Edge.
The advantage, it means.
Hey, look, I just spit on me for no reason.
That's horrible.
Is there some comfort in uncertainty, do you think?
You're a degenerate.
Because Australian Shepherds need action.
Wow. Yeah.
This is The Edge.
That's a self-loathing term that I use for.
Oh, got it.
This is The Edge.
There's probably an after party for the for Allegiance, the new musical that's starring George Takei, not Takei.
Takei, not Takei.
The name is George Takei, not Takei. Allegiance is my story. It's inspired by my story. I'm looking forward to it in Los Angeles at the end of February. Michael Shure, I'm going to invite you.
I would like to go. February 28th may not be. Hopefully I can go.
Well, sometimes it's not ideal in the middle of the week like that.
No, I enjoy that, Mark. But no, I may be, as you can imagine, at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville. But
that you have to call in from.
Yeah, I'll call in from anywhere.
Here's one for you. How old is George Takei?
Oh, he's 83, Mark.
Do you know that to be true?
No.
I'm going to say George Takei is 80. Do you want to check?
Let's check.
George Takei. He played Sulu in Star Trek.
He's married to Brad Takei.
Oh, my.
He was born April 20th, 1937. He's just shy of his 81st birthday.
So I was right. 80. You've now provoked another question.
Tell me.
How old is Bill Shatner? I'm going to say 83.
I'll say Bill Shatner then is 84.
Let's check on that.
Bill Shatner.
Put your phasers on Wikipedia.
He was born in 1931.
There's 86, is that?
He's going to turn 86 in March.
Wow. He's an older guy, huh?
Yeah. Jesus, that's older than I thought he would be.
Yeah. He's back from the road. He is our political maven. The wandering sojourn has concluded. I don't think it would just be the sojourn is concluded. You can't have a wandering sojourn.
Well, you can.
I suppose you could. Okay.
First, finish introducing me.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the people in this audience have no idea who I am. I see them all seated there waiting.
Yeah, we're waiting. We bring them in only for this first part, and then they go out and get coffee, and then at the end, we bring them in.
Right.
He's back from the road. He is our political pundit for politics and more. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Shure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. Thanks so much. Bring me back a grande One of the new blonde espressos.
Michael, you are back from the road. Where were you?
I was in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is in northwest Florida, the home of Eglin Air Force Base. On the Panhandle, sometimes known as Lower Alabama, sometimes known as the Redneck Riviera. It is a part of Florida that does not look like the part of Florida that most people know.
And you were there for family reunion?
Yes, the American family.
Why would you?
It was
what
the
other
American
reason?
family reunion. I was there covering the State of the Union speech, but covering it in a way that I enjoy, which is with the people. They had me with the Trump supporters, the real reliable Trump supporters. Fort Walton Beach went over 80% for Trump. The county, Okaloosa County, where it is was about 72% for Trump. This is Trump's America, and it gives you a perspective that you don't have all the time.
And what have you noticed about those people?
Well, that they're white. First of all, that they have a blind allegiance to their president that is unwavering, that they cannot be taken off of that. So it's not a question of debating getting you anywhere with them. Not that I did, but when I would put out the opposite. I was reporting, so I wasn't. There was no opinion. But I would say the devil's advocate take, and it was never bitten. It was always challenged with a truth that seemed to be almost universal among them.
They build their own truth. You're saying
they do, and some of it, it's hard because a lot of it isn't true, but a lot of it is the truth that they believe, which is no different than the truth that I believe. It's the organization of facts that make them feel a certain way versus the way I do. But a lot of their facts are not indeed facts.
And that's one of the things I like about you, and that's why you're on this show, because I think you are even-handed about this. And in this case, I would say when you go to someone who's a diehard Trump supporter down there in that part of the country, I'm guessing they would say, he's made America great again. I'm proud to be an American again, not like the last President Obama who was ashamed. And that is true for them. They feel they're proud, and they weren't before. Whether they should have felt that way is another issue.
And you wonder why, right? I mean, you wonder why, when you know the facts of the matter, why these people were so unaffected by those facts and are so affected by these. And, I was, I guess, struck, I would say, most by the way they felt about President Obama, that was a unifying thread through all of their opinions, even the ones that came to Trump grudgingly, because, it was Florida. They had Jeb Bush running. They had Marco Rubio running to the right of Jeb Bush, and then Trump won. So not all of them were there from the beginning, but they all have every stripe said it's better than Obama. It's better than Obama, from people thinking that Obama needed to go to jail to people thinking that Obama was just a terrible president.
At the root of that, is there race?
I'm not qualified to answer it, but I've always thought that. I mean, so my answer is yes. With the people that I met anecdotally down there, I wasn't sure that they were all motivated by race. I think some of them were. I think that, listen, I watched the State of the Union with the Okaloosa County Republican Club, and there were people at the bar there watching it and saying things like, oh, now we have another liberal open borders Obama type. That's what you are, Schumer, screaming at Schumer that way, just when his face appears on the television, right? So I do think it's motivated by race. I think that at the core of it, for a lot of them, it is. It's being entitled to the presidency, and there's this kind of the president always looked one way, and now the president doesn't have to look that way.
And to be clear, we're talking about the people that you were around. These are the diehard Trumpies down there in Florida. We're not talking about people who are listening now who might be Trump supporters who came there for a million different reasons. I know people who voted for Trump. Now, I wish I could remember who they all were, because I had to go back and sort of say, isn't this kind of what I was saying it was? A guy who is manifestly incompetent and is undermining this country in many, many ways in terms of natural resources and all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. Now let's get back to these people. One of the fallouts, and this is just recent, certain people didn't clap during the State of the Union, which is not unusual.
It happens every year, and that's the problem when you have so many new supporters came out in support of Donald Trump. And there are more people that follow politics now than ever did, right? So you have these Johnnies come lately to this thing, which is fine. And we've all been that to something in our life. But when you are there, and so these people are saying, look at these bastards, they're not clapping, they're not clapping. You go
that's the way it's done.
That's the way it's done. And that's childish, too. I mean, it's stupid when the Democrats don't, but why should they clap for something that they don't support, right? I mean, that's what politics is. You're saying, I want open borders and one person saying, I don't want open borders. Well, when they say we're going to have open borders, you don't expect the person who wants closed borders to clap. That's just not what they do.
It's like taking a knee during the anthem. Oh, wait.
Yeah, sorry.
But so much was made of that. Like, how can you disrespect the presidency this way? And then I thought back to Obama's State of the Union, in which someone yelled, a Republican legislator, you can probably tell me who it was.
Joe Wilson from South Carolina.
Thank you. He yelled, I think he yelled lies.
He wrote, you lie.
You lie, yeah.
You lie.
He yelled at Obama. I really thought that was beyond the pale.
Right. And that was when decorum kind of went away. I mean, there have been moments, obviously, in the history of the House where, Robert Dornan grabbed Tom Downey by the thing and tried to punch him. And there have been things like that. But decorum in these sorts of ways changed with you lie. I mean, the fact that happened and there was nobody came after him for it, really. He was criticized and then it went away. And I don't know what should have happened to him. Maybe that's the way it ought to be, but it wasn't the way that it was. And now it's things like that have given rise to Trump and the ability to say whatever you want.
You saw the Super Bowl?
I did.
I'm recording it. I haven't seen the end. It looks like a really good game. No spoilers.
I'm not going to tell you what happens, Mark, but really watch it till the end because it's a good game.
When Tom Brady jogged off the field, apparently, I didn't see this, but he didn't shake hands with Nick Foles.
Yeah, I didn't see that either, yeah.
That was a big deal. They made a big deal out of it. It was explained away as, hey, look, a lot of stuff happens at the end of the Super Bowl. People are streaming onto the field. He may not have been able to see Nick Foles, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It was explained that way. Heard it and saw it explained in print and on sports radio many times. And I just thought back to Cam Newton, who played in the Super Bowl, you'll also recall, against Denver. And Cam Newton, they made a huge deal out of the fact that he didn't shake hands at the end of the Super Bowl. In fact, he was fined. Now, I think, to be fair, he was also fined because he wasn't responsive enough to press questions at the podium. That might have been a bigger component.
There was more of it, but it was still part of the same thing, except for one thing.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be that guy, but I thought, well, I see. So the black guy, you're not letting off the hook and you actually fine him. The white superstar, you explain away the fact that he didn't shake hands.
Yeah, I mean, you pull a black guy over for speeding, he's more likely to get a ticket than the white guy you pull over for the exact same thing. And, listen, I mean, it was mostly white people, it looked like to me, that were tearing Philadelphia apart after Philadelphia won. But when black people protest in the streets, police brutality, rather than celebrating the victory of their home team, it's war and it's horrible and blue lives matter, et cetera, et cetera. This is just, I mean, there's a double standard based on race. And I think it ties in perfectly to the attitudes toward Donald Trump and toward Barack Obama.
Hating on white people is over, everyone. You can, now we will come back to a political question. I wonder if you could, and maybe we should ask you this question every so often. This seat is open, that seat's open, this seat's going to flip, that state's going to flip. You can lose track. What has to happen for the Democrats to be in any way in power in Washington? How many seats have to flip? Where is that possible, and might it actually happen in the midterms?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Democrats have a generic rating that's higher in Congress than they've had in a long time.
What does that mean?
Meaning that if you poll Americans, which they do regularly in a tracking kind of a way, where they're doing it either weekly or daily or every 2 weeks, what do you think of Democrats in Congress versus Republicans? The Democrats have been enjoying a lead between 8 and 15 points, which is, mostly in the middle there, about 10, 12, 13 points. Those are big numbers. But
how does that apply to the vote in specific seats?
It doesn't, but what it means is that there's this overwhelming sentiment among voters that they would prefer Democrats. And in districts that are very close, that will matter. And it has historically. I can't answer exactly why it matters today, why, if you poll it that way, it matters today. But historically, when you look back at generic ballots, Republican or Democrat, when it comes to the House of Representatives, it has almost always been a deliverable for them. That being said, there are a lot of open seats. A lot of them are solidly Republican. A lot of them are in swing districts, and a number of them are in California, which is the most Democratic state right now, in a way that has people that, Congress people like Steve Knight and Dana Rohrabacher dyed-in-the-wool Republicans who established, but in districts that they won, in Rohrabacher's case, I think 4% by 4%, which was unheard of for him to only win by that. Darrell Issa not running here, an open seat in California. Those are opportunities to be picked off. But those are California opportunities. So when you hear a lot of Republicans retiring in Congress, it doesn't mean that, oh my God, there's an opportunity for the Democrat. But what it does mean is a sense of the country. For example, Democrats, according to AL.com, which is Alabama, sort of a conglomerate of Alabama newspapers, Democrats are running competitive races now, or good candidates in all of the districts of Alabama. This could be a fallout from Doug Jones winning the Senate seat there. It doesn't mean it's likely that they're going to do well there. It's still Alabama, but it energizes the party enough to compete in all these races. They have to win a number of seats to flip the House. They have to win a few seats, pick up a few seats in order to win the Senate. The Senate is a little more of a challenge.
Is the House doable?
The House is doable. Yeah, I mean, doable because of the climate. It's doable because of some of these vacancies. And it's doable because what happens is people don't like serving in the minority. So if you're a qualified Democratic candidate for Congress, in many cases, you won't run because you're going to be in the minority. Whatever job you're leaving to run for Congress, which is somewhat thankless, you're going to the minority. It's better to stay in your job. Now, because of the promise of potential, good candidates come out, and that's what's happening in a lot of these congressional races.
Democrats need 24 seats to win the House.
Well, they need to flip. That means it's got to be
right. They need 24 more.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's very doable. It's
is.
doable because there are seats to pick off around the country, and there are Republican incumbents in danger too. In places like Minnesota, in places like Michigan, Arizona, there are members of the Republican Congress who won in districts that Hillary Clinton won.
Now let me get super political. This is so cool that we have Michael Shure. And now let me ask you this question, which is right in your world. Let's assume that these Republicans, so many are retiring. We're seeing this spate of retirements, and it's quite extraordinary.
Part of that is due to the fact that Republicans have revolving seniority rules, too. So if you're the chairman of a committee and you're going to have to give that chairmanship up and become a rank-and-file Republican, a little less appealing to come back to a Congress in which you may be the minority and not even the ranking member on a committee that you once were the chair of, or on another committee in a much more junior position.
I'm not so sure I have a problem with that. That may be a reasonable way to go.
It may be a reasonable way to go because that sort of brings term limits by default.
Exactly. But anyway, what about the theory that goes like this? So GOP slowly leadership and longtime GOPers in Congress retire or are voted out. They're replaced by other GOP.
Yeah.
But these new Republicans are the Trump 4.0 type Republicans. And by that, I just mean in the Trump era.
Yeah.
They may not even respect the president, I don't know. But they're actually far more right-wing and more intense in their right-wing dogma than even the right of the party now. In other words, the entire party begins a shift to the right as a result of this new group that's going to replace the guys who are leaving.
Yeah, that's possible. Sort of like the Tea Party wave that came in. It's not, first of all, the Tea Party is still there, and those people are so far right that you have the Freedom Caucus, which basically owns the party anyway. So, yes, some of those people
Couldn't the Freedom Caucus hold on the party become expanded?
It absolutely could, but here's the thing. They're going to learn this year whether adhering to whatever Trump doctrine is, and it's not clear that there is even doctrine because it's so haphazard, but whatever being a Trump Republican looks like, if you adhere to that, it may hurt you. And if the party learns that the adherence to Trump is a bad thing, they're going to run like any other political party ever has from that person.
So you're saying they could become more moderate, actually?
Well, they could become different. They could become anti-White House, which doesn't mean moderate, because they could turn it around and say, well, this White House is too moderate for us, and so that's what you have to be careful of. They can redefine their party very quickly that way. The other thing is, with all these committee chairmen leaving, you're going to get a new wave of committee chairmen who do want to work with the White House because they want to get themselves heard because this is their new job. It's hard to predict what that will look like because if they are in favor of the White House, it could really help Trump out a lot. If they find that blazing their own path away from the White House and sort of galvanizing control within the House of Representatives, independent of the White House, is their move, then they'll do that.
Well, you know something, Michael, I'm going to make a prediction, and my prediction is that the party is going to shift to the right, the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen on the Democratic side is they're going to shift to the right. And what we're going to end up with is a left, more progressive part of the political spectrum that's left vacant that may be, and this is going to take a lot of time, but may be eventually filled.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair thing to predict. I don't know that it's going to happen because I don't know how much further to the right the Republicans can go. And a lot of these people that are leaving are among the most conservative members of Congress who are chairman. Bob Goodlatte, you look at Bob Goodlatte, you look at Joe Barton, you look at some of the members of the Texas delegation that are leaving. You look at, now I hear that Poe in Tennessee is leaving possibly. Darrell Issa, who has a high-profile conservative guy, leaving. So a lot of these big names that are leaving, and the Democrats are challenging a number of their more moderate, Dan Lipinski in Illinois, who's a pro-life, very, very moderate Democrat, is being challenged from the left. So I think in certain areas, yes, in certain areas, no. I think it tends to balance itself out among Democrats. But, and this is getting a little wonky, if the Democrats find that they are very close to winning the House, but Nancy Pelosi is polling, for whatever reason, justified or not, and Nancy Pelosi is unbelievably progressive, and when you look at her voting record and her politics, and people on the progressive left probably hate hearing that, but it's actually true. She's a progressive. She happens also to be the Democratic leader, so that she has to compromise it sometimes because of her job. If they find that she's a liability, there's going to be great pressure to say to her, Nancy, please say that you're not going to run for Speaker next time, that you're just running for Congress. That will help us win the House. That will be an interesting dynamic because then you may see a much more progressive message.
Wow, that's terrific.
And it's possible.
You have all these facts. I'm unencumbered by those. So when my predictions
You're like the president.
My predictions, I can make free of all of this crap that weighs you down.
By the way, your prediction is totally valid. It's a total possibility. The Democrats have historically moved to the right rather than the Republicans moving to the left, and certainly the Republicans are not going to move to the left. The only leftward change that would happen would be to spin the president as being too far to the left, which is hard for progressives to imagine, but it's possible.
I wanted to touch on one thing that wasn't related to politics while I had Michael Shure. The godfather of soul. Who was that?
James Brown.
Yeah, that's right. And who was the hardest working man in show business?
Am I allowed to use the same answer twice?
You are.
Okay, that's James Brown.
You must, in fact, because it is James Brown who is the topic of this story, which I wanted to share with you. James Brown, having worked and been an American icon for so long, he amassed quite a fortune. When he died, he left tens of millions of dollars for underprivileged kids in Georgia and South Carolina.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, but they're not getting any of the money.
Why is that?
Years after his death now, there have been more than a dozen lawsuits related to his estate.
From people claiming to be a child?
From those who we know are his children. He has 9 children and grandchildren, and they're suing the estate, the administrator of the estate, suggesting that there were illegal backroom agreements to keep them from getting this money. It's gone on for a long time. It's a case that points out the problems in so many of these estates and with this legacy money. Here's this guy. He was quite clear about it. There were agreements made, and what they're suggesting is, in essence, is that the agreements were made without them as parties to the agreement.
Right.
Again, without getting to too many of the small details here, to what degree do you have to include?
I don't know. Why do they have to concur? Can't you do whatever you want with it?
Exactly. The will had set aside $2 million to underwrite scholarships for the grandchildren, and it gave his costumes and other household effects to the 6 children that he recognized, a bequest thought to be worth perhaps another $2 million. But the bulk of the estate was to be given over to the I Feel Good Trust, which he set up to distribute scholarships for children from South Carolina, where he was born, and Georgia, where he lived much of his life. But the will's been challenged. His children and grandchildren are now going to get a quarter of the estate. All the publishing rights on his songs, they revert to the family also. So they're revenue streams that continue past his death, of course.
Which have nothing to do with his estate going to these,
Yeah, because the rights to those monies automatically go to the family.
Right.
You can sell those rights, which they've done also, and that's begun to complicate it as well. The sad part of this story is that this estate is trying to get money to these kids in South Carolina and Georgia, and they probably will never get it.
Well, not never. I mean, it sounds like they're starting to work this out now, right? It's just taken a while.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
You don't know if you feel good.
There have been multiple suits filed, the lawyer for the children and grandchildren said. The estate of James Brown has long been marred by dubious backroom dealings between the estate and James Brown's putative wife, Tommy Ray Heine, as described in our lawsuit.
Wow. Tommy Ray Heine.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate name.
Yeah.
Darrell Brown, a son of James Brown, who is not a party to the recent suit and never challenged his father's will, says that he has lost faith in the South Carolina justice system. Anyway.
Interesting that he had faith in the South Carolina justice system to begin with.
You can reach us on Twitter. He is at Michael Shure. Shure is Shure. I'm at Mark T. Live. Michael, thank you for a detailed and reflective report on politics and our world. Michael Shure, everybody.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Oh, thank you so much. It's so worth it. Oh boy, this is nice.
Hey, everybody. Why don't you do me a favor and like The Edge with Mark Thompson on Facebook? Yeah, that's going to bring in the kids.
You're listening to The Edge. Join us on the web at edge-show.com.
It's funny, when we said goodbye to Heather, I never thought that she might come back. I mean, for like an episode or two, you know?
I kind of held hope.
Yeah, I was hoping. And we always say, hey, if you get through the area, maybe you come be on the show or something, or at least let us know how you're doing. And lo and behold, Heather is here for a very short time.
Right here.
Oh, my God.
The return of Heather, everybody.
So anticlimactic. Liars, both of you, hoping that I would show back up. I know both of you way better than that.
I commissioned a portrait of you.
Josh, maybe. That's nice. I am excited to have you on. Yeah, I've talked to Josh about this a couple times. I like your female energy. I like your energy generally.
He said it way cruder than that when he said it to me.
I like your perspective. So anyway.
I just like you, Heather.
Thanks,
I'm just
Josh.
glad you're here.
See?
Not because of what you do for the show, but I like having you here.
Yeah,
glad to see you.
I just look at you as an element in the show, really, but still an important element.
Chess master that he is. We're all just pieces on his board.
I heard all the ladies making the rounds on the show after I left. Laura, Lisa.
Laura was here. Then Laura had an interesting situation.
What happened?
She moved a little farther away.
Like 4 blocks away, and she goes, no, it's just too far, I'm afraid.
Are you serious? Yeah. 4 blocks?
Not 4 blocks.
Oh.
But it could have been 4 blocks.
That's pretty funny.
It was pretty funny. Let me just
say.
Your
house is really freaking far away.
Well, we're not sitting at my house right now. We're at the iHeartRadio studio.
I know, but the one pictures I saw, she was at the house.
That's true. She was at the house.
But she moved closer to the house.
Oh,
she did.
I moved all the way to Northern California.
Yeah. So how are things going up there?
Things are great.
You're engaged to be married.
I am.
And you're living with him and his family, or how's that working?
No, just him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he still has a family, right?
Yeah.
So you
Big family.
You have to interact with them and bond with them, or not bond with them, or avoid them, or however that works.
I mean, I wouldn't call it have to interact with them, but
not on the radio.
No, they're awesome. It's fun. I've never had relatives so many so close, and so it's a blast. It's like stopping by my future sister-in-law's house and future cousin. It's just great. The little ones like me a lot, and I'm having a blast.
Oh, that's cool.
It's been like 7 weeks.
No, but that's important. It's important that early on it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fun. You're saying that little community.
The lack of harbingers of doom is the thing that's important.
Okay, good. I was in the fetal position for the first week and a half or 2 weeks, and then I ran into someone I knew, and from that point on, I just felt like, okay, I'm going to be okay.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
What do you do up there? Like, are you still involved in show business in any way, or?
Yeah. Well, actually, I moved right before Thanksgiving, and so everything, down here kind of starts shutting down in December. So I felt like it was a good time to go.
Things started shutting down for me a couple of years ago.
Well, as far as auditioning and stuff, that
I see.
So I still managed to get back here. I've made every audition I've had theatrically, and then I just stopped commercial auditioning in general because those I would never be able to make. So I don't have a ton of theatrical auditions, but the ones that I've had, I've been able to make and turn that into other things down here while I've been down here, other opportunities. So it's been good.
For those who may not have seen a lot of Heather's stuff, she did have one of the great sequences in any show or any film. It is the dialogue I look forward to. It does occur occasionally, and now that I'm going to mention it to everyone, you'll notice it coming up. It is. Can we reenact it?
Yeah, you probably remember it better than I do.
It's this. It's knock at the door. Heather opens the door, and guy says, FBI, we're here to see your father. And Heather says, I'm afraid that's impossible.
That is what I said.
Yeah.
He died 2 days ago.
No, you don't pay it off right away.
No, I did.
No, you don't. You said, I'm afraid it's impossible. And then they say, this is the best part. What? They say, that's okay. We can wait.
Oh, yeah.
And then you say,
have to wait.
My father's been dead for 2 days. Or he died 2 days
You guys
ago.
did a great job with that scene. Let me just say.
Let's cut that. Let's cut that and do it again.
All right, here we go.
You be the FBI agent.
Okay, so I ring the doorbell. Ding dong.
Hello. Can I help you?
Yes, FBI. I'm here to. Are you Ms. Ankeny?
I am.
I'm here to see your father.
My father's not here.
I shouldn't use your real name. Never mind. It's going to be bad. He's dead or whatever. Okay, hang on a second. Do it again.
I didn't have this many takes when I did it the real
All
time.
right, here we go.
Okay.
Well, that was really the first take because I had it right the first time.
Shit, sorry.
Knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock.
Can I help you?
Yes, Officer Thompson with the FBI. Do FBIs have officers or is it just, I'm Agent Thompson?
Right.
Yeah, sorry, ma'am, I'm Agent Thompson. I'm new at the force.
Obviously.
Are you Ms. Jones?
I am.
Yeah. Ms. Jones, I'm here to talk to your...
SFX gunshot off camera. Josh kills himself.
All right, this is the last time we're going to do it. Knock, knock, knock.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm Agent Jones, FBI. Are you Ms. Jones? You have the same name I do, Jones.
Horrible.
Are you my long lost
Oh my
husband?
God.
You're not really an
Oh, my
FBI
God.
agent? Honey, go away. I told you to never fight. Come back here again.
I'm going to play the FBI agent now.
Josh is going to... I'm sorry.
See how hard it
Maybe for the
is to
day.
audition.
Oh my God.
Okay, Josh, you're up.
Mrs. Ankeny,
Yes?
I'm Agent Goldberg. I'm here to see your father.
My father's not in.
Well, that's okay. We can wait.
I'm afraid you're going to have to wait for a long time.
Why is that, ma'am?
My father passed away 2 days ago.
He what?
I love it. That's the best part.
Okay.
I'm afraid you're going to have to wait a very long time. My father passed away 2 days ago.
And then it cuts to
Oh,
credits.
it's so good. If I can find it, I don't think I can find it.
You played it like 5 times on 5 of our last episodes.
Hi. We're looking for Miles Whitehall.
What is it, Robert? Is everything okay?
We need to speak to your father.
Our father. I'm afraid that's impossible.
We can wait.
You'll be waiting a long time. Our father's dead.
He died of a heart attack 2 days ago.
Talk about an excellent alibi.
It was great. I like you in those procedurals and all that
Me
stuff.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. My Criminal Minds. Did you guys ever see that? I looked horrible, but it
I
was
did not
great.
see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw you in the Criminal
It
Minds.
was, yeah, I actually just did my first Lifetime movie right before I moved, actually.
Wow.
Super fun.
What was that? What's that called? Can we see it?
I haven't seen it pop up on IMDb yet, but it's called I Want Your Mom because Lifetime.
Yeah.
It's great. I play a mom in the show, and I really can't divulge too much. But
Okay.
Ava Sambora, Ava Locklear is what she's changed her name to now since we shot it. Heather Locklear and Richie Sambora's daughter is the star of it.
Oh, why did she change her name? Do you
I don't know because she's how I go to see if it's on IMDb yet and if I've been cut out
His
of it.
dad apparently didn't do mom right, I'm guessing.
Yeah, might be some
If you
different.
I don't know.
change-
She was Ava Sambora in the show, but then now she's changed it to Ava Locklear. Maybe because it's more recognizable.
I don't know.
She's really sweet.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Let's ask Merrill Markoe some questions.
This crank chop is really making me hungry over here. Have you seen the ad for this?
No.
You basically pull a cord. It's like the slap chop. You pull a cord and that thing
Chops it up.
chops vegetables.
It's
Oh,
like a
that's cool.
CNC, but with blades.
It's like a blender. Have you
It
thought of
is,
that?
but it's like a pull a string. I just don't
Well,
understand.
why? Because there's no electricity where you are?
I guess so. And this is something totally different. They're adding. Look, isn't that the slap chop guy who went to jail for like cocaine possession?
I don't think that's the guy, but maybe it is. I don't
How
know.
about Celebrity Big
There's
Brother?
nothing better to chop your cocaine with than that.
That's right.
That chops
It's a
that chops.
crank chop. That's what it's called. It's
Yeah.
crank chop.
Oh,
Actually,
crank
Yeah,
chop.
it's
Yeah.
it literally
Crank,
chops your
actually.
crank. Yeah.
Are you watching Celebrity Big Brother?
I am not.
I'm not either.
Did you see who's on it?
I saw that.
Omarosa?
She's just disgusting. What a horrible person. But you know what? I don't even know if she's the most disgusting person in this administration.
Oh, God, no.
I think they might have lost a lot of viewers because of her. Not that I don't know that they were going to have a ton, but
Who else is
Omarosa.
on it?
You know what? If there's like 11 people, 6 of them were on Dancing with the Stars, 5 of them were on Celebrity Apprentice.
Right. It's like a tour bus that just stops at the different reality shows. you know.
Yeah,
All the same publicist.
probably. Huh?
Merrill Markoe,
Yeah, hey,
how are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. I'm here with Heather Ankeny
Hi.
Hey.
and J. Elvis Weinstein.
Ah,
Yes.
I have never met Jay Elvis, but I'm familiar with his Twitter feed.
Yes, he's very
It's
funny.
very funny.
He is.
Well, thank you.
I like the fact that he was the original voice of Servo on Mystery Science Theater.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I like that too. I didn't really, somehow, the only person I really identified besides Joel was Frank Conniff. I somehow didn't realize that Mr. Weinstein
Yes.
was Servo.
Frank, well, I was the original. Frank actually replaced me on the show as the evil scientist after I left.
So you were there for how long?
I was a founder. We did it as a local, and then I did it the first year on Comedy Central.
Gee, that must be a fun story.
Oh,
yeah. It's funny. I never asked Josh, why weren't you on after the first season?
Let's interview Merrill Markoe.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Right after that, though, I actually did work with you on the ill-fated Sunday Best.
Oh, my God. You were on that?
I worked from Minneapolis. I worked on Jeff Cesario's segment.
Ah, yeah, that show.
What was that show?
That was a show that looked like something that would be in East Germany to see whether or not they were getting reception.
It was, but with an amazing cast. It was Merrill Markoe, it was Carl Reiner, it was Harry Shearer, and it was Cesario.
And Linda Ellerby.
Oh, wow.
But it was highlighting like that week's TV shows or something.
Wait a minute. I remember this show, sort of, yeah.
And it was supposed to have original segments by Harry and myself. And then as soon as we started to make them, they were really, really supportive until the thing aired. And it was airing in a kind of a really sweet time spot. I forget when. Was it after 60 Minutes?
It was against 60 Minutes.
Oh, it was against 60 Minutes.
Yes.
Well, that's not a sweet time period.
No, but the plan was that they were just going to take clips from all the existing NBC shows. It was sort of an internet idea, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, they were aggregating.
And it was just basically awful and unwatchable, and they couldn't get the rights to a whole lot of shows. And so then they had a horrible first rating, and by the second show, when we turned in our work, Harry and myself, they just were pale, and they and they didn't want to know anything about anything. It was just it was a really scary little moment.
Did you live in California then, or in New York?
In California. I mostly have lived in California. I was in New York for a few years. Well, actually, I guess quite a few years with a Letterman show. But yeah, I've been in California kind of steadily since the end of the 80s.
When you were in New York, did you ever think about being a writer or contributor on Saturday Night Live at that time? It feels like a lot of your stuff and your sensibility would fit well with that show, even many years ago.
You know, I kind of wanted to have that job when I was I thought I should disengage myself from the Letterman show. So I thought, well, a perfect thing would be to just slip into a writing position on Saturday Night Live. But that upset Mr. Letterman, who thought they were the competition and was very angry about the fact that I even applied for that job.
Really?
So that didn't happen.
Oh, and so he's even able probably to pick up the phone and go, hey, I don't want you touching this person.
No, he wouldn't do that. No, he all he had to do is make that face my mother used to make. and that would be enough for me. I'm a.
How many years did you do late night before you left?
I guess I was there maybe 5 years, and then the morning show.
Okay.
The morning show was for me the really big learning curve, because that went from nothing to having produced a talk show,
right?
Which was a really crazy amount of stuff to learn in a very short period of time, and then a big catastrophe of being canceled. So that was like, for me, it will always be like being hit in the head with a hockey stick. Bam, just.
That was a must-see for me and a bunch of people like me.
There are no people like you, Mark. Please stop saying that.
So you must have gotten a lot of feedback like that, sort of a cultish feedback, which...
I didn't ever get any feedback. I was just living in a bunker. So
wow.
I missed out on the feedback, which was maybe for the good, although perhaps for the bad.
But it seems like you guys were smart. You were smart enough to salvage the vibe of that show and take it to late night.
Well, we sort of had no choice because it was the vibe we knew how to do.
Right.
So we really couldn't have done a different vibe.
But I was just going to say that the small town news and the franchises established like that, and some of the remotes that they did in that morning show, that's what they did. And
when you say they, you mean me.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, Merrill,
But I refer to myself as they a lot, too.
You had help there, right?
You mean like someone to come in and clean?
Exactly.
Yeah. They were writers. Some of them were very useful, and some of them were just wrong hires, but we couldn't really rehire anybody because we were already canceled while we were on the air. And also we were live, if you can imagine that. It was live.
That's right. I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, but Rich Hall was really, really helpful. He was like my right-hand man. Now he's some kind of a celebrity in England.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's what he does. He lives in England, and he does specials, and he's a beloved humorist of some sort.
I want to move somewhere and be beloved. I just can't figure out what I'll be beloved for.
Your parents'
You'll
house.
be beloved because you and I starred in that movie together. You know, our joint, our film debut.
What was our film debut, Merrill?
Our film, like I have to remind you that we were co-stars of Ed TV.
Oh, that's right. That was great. Ed TV. Working for Ron Howard, my good friend.
Yeah, I mean, that movie would be nothing without either of our appearances.
Do you still get
He
residual
actually
checks?
refers to it as Mark TV.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because it stands for Marco, too.
There you go.
Right.
Oh,
there you go.
exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, we held that movie together. We did what we could to push it over the top. We held it together, basically.
Well, we pushed it over something. I don't know if it was the top.
So I'm curious. I mean, I'm a huge late night was like a massive influence in my comedy life, and I was a head writer of a late night talk show. So
Which one were you the head writer
of? Kinnear's NBC.
Mr. Kinnear. I forgot he had one too. There's that world of all those shows that came and went. That that somebody should do a book about that. Like, remember Chevy Chase's show?
Yeah, that really came and went like the same week.
It did, and they offered me a job on it, and I just went. I used to get phone calls to come in and the last minute and see if I could work some magic on something that was tanking.
Right.
And I would just back off it because it was too terrifying.
Yeah, it's a bad. Once those things start going down.
Do you remember the Jerry Lewis talk show?
I do not.
No.
Oh, well, that's the greatest one. I bet it's on YouTube. You should look at that.
Oh,
that
boy.
was taking place in the early 80s somewhere, and it was on for a very brief amount of time, but was so astonishingly terrible that Mr. Letterman and myself were just filled with delight by it. It was just remarkable. It's hard to even describe it, but you really write down everyone on a piece of paper and go find it on. It's got to be on YouTube.
Wow.
I'm there.
Did Jerry Lewis do that thing where he's got the butane lighter out and it's a torch that's like 10 feet tall? And
I think he did every damn thing and then tried to have a really sincere conversation after it, which is what he really specializes in, putting an entire drinking glass in his mouth and then shifting into macabre, dark conversation about I don't know, something very sentimental.
Time for the empathy.
I feel like that show that you did, Josh, that Greg Kinnear show, that was on for a few seasons, wasn't it?
It was on for a couple of years, and then he started doing movies.
Oh, right.
And,
I forgot yeah, that's right. He did. That was right after Talk Soup,
Yeah,
which he
Talk
also
Soup
did.
was the
yeah,
best.
I worked on both for a short time there, and then
I hosted Talk Soup one day.
Did you?
No, that's cool.
Is that still in some?
It's called The
form?
Soup. Is it still on
Is it
or
still
not?
on?
No, it's gone now.
Joel McHale was the last
Yeah.
host.
Oh yeah.
I auditioned for replacing Kinnear on Talk Soup, and it went really well. I don't mean I've lost
That's
track.
always a bad sign.
Yeah.
When a thing goes really well.
It's true.
That's right.
You know, my mother-in-law recently died, and that's just a nice way of saying her last words were, "I feel much better today."
Oh no.
and I was just thinking that, like any Jewish person would have warned her, never say that.
Right, exactly.
That's the worst thing you could possibly say. Say, I'm not sure, I'm all right. I guess that's so-so. Because, they've got that, there's that evil eye that you're supposed to watch out for, who's just sort of hovering
Kanahora.
nearby all of us, trying to disappoint us and make everything go awry.
Right.
So that's what you're supposed to be. I think that's the fulcrum of the Jewish religion, if I'm not mistaken.
That's why, yes, anytime you say something good, you say no evil eye afterwards.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there's a Yiddish phrase for that, right?
Kanahora, yeah.
Right. That's right. I was thinking about this earlier today. Don't you think that there should be a Jewish religion called I mean,
It's called reform. It's called reform.
It's called Reform Judaism?
Because, there's not one. I mean, there's Yom Kippur is the one big Jewish holiday, but there's all those different ones for the Christian religion. There's nothing really sort of celebratory like Easter. The Jewish one would be, and then you would celebrate all the things that kind of disappointed you that year.
Wow.
Well, we were saved from slavery, and we're still complaining about the bread.
That's right. I actually was analyzing this year. I was analyzing Hanukkah, which is like a holiday where you go, well, we didn't think we had enough oil, but it turned out we did.
Right. Such a good story. This is going to make such a good story.
It's going to be such a celebration. So what a great idea for a holiday. No, we were pretty sure we were out. No, there's a little left.
Well, the other aspect about it is that the light that they were using the oil for is to honor God. So it's like such an ego trip for God going, okay, we did it. We did it, God. We kept celebrating you. We held out from the Maccabees. But we kept that light on for you, big guy.
We just have this, enough for just one little candle, but that ought to do it.
That God, first of all, there is a lot of God in the Bible, but I mean,
you noticed that.
It's like also, his book. He dominates.
Yeah.
He's like the Trump of the Bible.
If they could redo it, I just would like introduce some other stuff, although there are a lot of stories and stuff, but he does seem incredibly hung up on, I'm the God, I'm the one, don't forget no other God.
And I hate how the authors keep using Deus Ex Machina for everything.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was just rereading the Old Testament because I got the R. Crumb illustrated version, which is really a treat. If you've never read it, it's just a treat. He seriously, without being sarcastic or satirical, just illustrates everything. Oh. But I was sort of stunned by the Garden of Eden, where God just goes, and in the center of the Garden of Eden, I'm putting this fruit tree. Don't touch it.
Totally.
It's like, what kind of thing is that? And then it's the tree of good and evil. And you're not supposed to eat from it because you would learn things.
Right.
And you just think, well, wait a minute. So the idea is you're just supposed to live here and be dumb? Like, very much like the Trump administration, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Right. I guess that's what...
God was the first Trump.
That was the innocence. You know nothing. Everything will be fine, but you don't know shit.
It's almost as though they reverse engineered it. Like they had this conclusion, these people who were sinning and doing all this other stuff. And so they created a story that knowledge was the thing that they, you know what I mean? It's as though it wasn't true. They just reverse engineered it.
That's just crazy talk, Mark.
Meryl, you mentioned that your mother-in-law died? Mm-hmm. So did you have to go to a funeral?
Oh, yes. I went to I went to my very first Catholic wake, which is where you stand in a sort of a celebratory situation and pretend that there's not like a deceased person at one side of the room for 8 hours, 9 hours.
Wow. Is that how long they are?
Yeah, they're very, very long. But I was just thinking, I was actually contemplating the idea of embalming, too, how odd that is. Because it's like, well, make them look really lifelike to make you sadder, and you can remember them as you remember them best, passed out, lying on their back in a room full of people enjoying food.
Well, but then we'll drop them in the ground after that. So.
It's just a very weird idea.
It's sort of the celebrating a life. You always see that, please come as we celebrate the life of so-and-so, right? Mm-hmm. But the idea of doing it with so-and-so there and in full view while alcohol's being served.
And then to make them look really lifelike, they were just so tired they're taking a nap.
Right. That's so like Mom.
Yeah, they just fall asleep in the middle of a big party.
I caught my grandmother checking my grandfather's body to make sure they'd put britches on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, Grandma, what are you doing? She's like, well, I heard that they don't put...
Oh, geez.
She was actually physically checking.
I didn't actually walk over to see her. I just found it too unnerving.
Yeah.
It's, for some people, I guess it gives you that closure,
right?
That, like.
But it just makes you sadder. I guess you're supposed to be mourning. Anyway.
What do they serve at those things? What do they serve food-wise?
Well, your relatives bring little finger sandwiches and stuff. And since I'm vegan, I knew there was going to be nothing at all to eat there, and so I actually had hidden stuff from Whole Foods in my purse.
Wow. I don't think I've ever been to one where you actually ate with the body in the room. But
well, no, there's another little room where, the human being really just thinks of the weirdest stuff to do, don't we?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Well, we've ritualized things to try to make them easier to deal with.
Well, I mean, they used to do death photography. That used to be.
That's right, they did.
What is that?
They literally, like, one of the last things you do with your relative is dress them up real nice and prop them up in a living position and take a death photo like that.
Well, they might as well start that again.
I think so. I mean,
that's unreal. How could you have that picture anywhere?
I feel like I've seen one.
well, because it was commonplace.
And you say that's
Is
Uncle.
that Victorian? That's got to be
I
Victorian.
think it's Victorian, yeah.
Well, you'll find them. That's more stuff you can find online.
That's right. Go on
That could
eBay,
be-
look up death pictures.
First Jerry Lewis talk show, then that.
Yeah.
That was Jerry Lewis's death picture, was that show.
I saw a tweet from you that you were talking about the Impossible Burger.
Oh,
She loves the Impossible
I
Burger.
love it.
You do too.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm actually dreaming about. I'm going to get one right after this at Umami Burger.
They are great.
They are unbelievably great, and you know the Beyond Burger is just about as good.
I haven't had the Beyond Burger.
The Beyond Burger is fantastic. They sell that everywhere. They're not selling the Impossible Burgers in stores yet, but they're selling the Beyond Burger. The Impossible Burger claims that what they've done is add. Did you go online and watch the video about how they make them? Because I was worried.
I didn't watch the video, but I did go online to figure out. They're in San Jose.
Impossible Burger is people.
The Impossible is the name. Impossible is the name of the company that actually makes the burger.
Oh, well, yeah, but it's got something in it called heme, H-E-M-E, so it's a kind of a red substance, which made me nervous until I found out what it is actually, apparently heme is the thing that all food has that makes it juicy, but plants have it too. So they figured out how to make it by fermenting soy roots or something.
Right.
So they add it, and it's an actually juicy vegan burger, and it's fantastically good. But
phenomenal.
the Beyond Burger's doing the same thing, so they're all going to be doing it.
Mark, I got to tell you, a friend of mine told me, Merrill, to get it. So I called Umami Burger. This was a couple months ago. Went to pick it up. There were 2 orders for Heather, right? Mm-hmm. So I took my order, went home, opened it up, and I'm like, oh, crap. They gave me the other Heather's order. And so I called, and I was really nice. And I was like, I think I got. He's like, no, that's the Impossible Burger. Because I swore that it was meat.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. But you can expand into Beyond Burgers and not be disappointed. Because they're selling Beyond Burgers at Ralph's and Vons and all these, just about every store. If you go on their website, they've got like a list of just about everywhere.
The Beyond Burger is eerie because it actually does bleed. Like it bleeds.
Well, so does the
Impossible.
No, I know. I guess, but the Umami Burger, only because I've had it in that form. Yeah, that heme. It's juicy, but I guess you're right. But I mean, when you see it be cooking the Beyond Burger at home, it looks like there's like a blood in it almost. It's really wild, but I guess as you say, it's in both.
So that's going to be the thing. I mean, they're all going to be doing it. It's such a big step forward from those dry, weird veggie burgers that we were all eating and putting so much mayonnaise on them, so that to pretend that they were kind of tastier than they ever were, putting so many pickles and onions and tomatoes on them to make them more palatable. These are like just a giant leap forward.
Yeah, these are an absolute double. In fact, I had the same thing happen that happened to Heather here at iHeartRadio. One night I'd called for it to be delivered. They deliver it, and I take one bite and I go, no, this is real meat. This is disgusting. I don't want this. And
that's not what they were going for.
And I called.
They said, so realistic, you'll think it's disgusting.
So we started cutting. We cut up the rest of the burger, and then we gave it to everybody. And everybody at KFI Radio in LA, they're all major carnivores, and
that's part of their charm.
One of them's one of those people that goes, stand aside. I got this. And it was a woman. She comes in and she takes it and she says 100% that is meat.
No way.
And so I then call the place and I go, hey, look, there's been a mistake. And I actually talked to the person who prepared my order. Yeah. They said, no, we prepared them in a different place even. It's prepared with different packaging. We don't make that mistake. It's just that it's such a great double. So
so good.
I have another theoretical vegan question for you. So have you read, and I know you must have because I have, because I'm on mailing lists, the weird new, I think it's Elon Musk's brother company, where they are taking cells and they are making meat from cells that were never animals.
Yeah. Yeah,
that is such a mind-boggling concept that I haven't figured out even where the joke is in it. I can hardly figure it out. It's just I really don't know what to even think about it. I mean, part of me thinks, no, I want nothing to do with that, and the other part of me thinks, well, why not? It's not an animal.
Right. It's still flesh, but it's not an animal's flesh.
Yeah, it's just something that is manufactured in a lab.
Right.
Right, exactly.
So what is going to be the international reaction to that? Are we going to want that?
I mean, as long as it doesn't is not an ecological disaster to make it. You know?
Well, probably that's the part that we don't know about yet. Is it has to be powered by oil rigs.
Right. but then it becomes. I mean, I'm not a vegan, but I wonder if when you get to that thing where it's so interchangeable texturally, and the thing it's like what is disgusting you at that point then.
Well, it's just a weird thing you're used to being. It's just like you got the neuro pathways all set up for it. Now you would have to reverse it. Right. And then, of course, the next thing is that Elon Musk will figure out a way to turn it into an animal.
But it's like Mark was saying with the burger. He was like, he bit in and went, this is disgusting, because he thought it was meat. Now he finds out it's not meat. Is it still disgusting? It still tastes exactly like meat.
Right. It's a really great point. I mean, that connotes for me such a horror, but if you knew that it didn't come from this horrible thing, then
you're still pantomiming a horror, sort of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we've always said that it's not so much like even trying to eat like fake chicken nuggets. Like the consistency is so similar to chicken that it's gross, right? We've always talked about that.
Right. That's my question.
But the flavor is not that great of the fake chicken nuggets and all that stuff.
That's true.
It's all kind of so-so. I mean, they've made this quantum leap to where it's changed.
Yeah, and this cellular stuff that Merrill's talking about, where it's like open source cells and you can create your own meat.
Right, it's like stem cell based meat, kind of.
Right. I mean, it does. The great ecological advantage, of course, is that you don't have to clear cut land for a grazing pasture, right?
And you don't have to take lives.
And you don't have to take lives, and you don't have to exactly.
It doesn't
sounds
create
like a
its own
Black Mirror
methane like that.
Right.
It is. It's a very Black Mirror-y kind of thing. It's hard. It's kind of hard to wrap your brain around. But now I would like them to. Now that they've made this quantum leap forward in terms of edible vegan food, I want them to do the same thing with vegetarian candy, which is the rubberiest, most flavorless, most disappointing experience you could possibly have. You want a piece of candy, and then you go to the health food store and you buy one of those rubberized, carob-flavored...
Oh, like the chocolate candy.
Oh, it's so disappointing. Okay. Really, could just sit down and weep after it. That you even wanted a piece of candy and then you had this instead. Is so sad.
There is a vegan chocolate that's pretty damn good. I think it comes from Europe or something, but it was really good. Some of the stuff that comes from Europe in the cookie, candy, chocolate area is really strong. Mm-hmm. But it's trial and error,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the cheese.
Well, the cheese, I'd like these Impossible Burger guys to get busy with that stuff.
Exactly. That's you know what?
Miyoko's cheese,
You love that.
Yeah, I love the Miyoko cheese.
Yeah, it's okay, but maybe it needs heme. Of course.
I like a juicy cheese.
You could all use some heme. The one thing I will say, and then we'll wrap up just on this, because I like to be everybody's buzzkill on this stuff. The episode that precedes this one, we have a leading dietitian on, plant-based dietitian, and her greatest lament, she shares toward the beginning of the conversation, is that they've doubled these things so well that the burger, as we say, is such a great double, and so is the shrimp and the chicken, etc. Like all of these different dishes that they've been able to duplicate to the point that you can veganize everything, but
including bad health.
The nutrition associated with it is now as bad as those things that they're doubling. In other words,
really?
Yeah, the sodium and all the trans fats and all that stuff.
That's been my complaint with the stuff. The sodium is really high.
Yeah. So her point is, if you care about people consuming less in the way of meat, in 10 years, when you do the labs of somebody who's completely plant-based, but they're eating that artificial Beyond Meat, whatever, and you do the labs of somebody who is an omnivore, they're going to be the same, because now they're not getting the fresh vegan stuff. They're getting processed stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the truth in general. Like, one of the worst things that can happen for you is if you go to the doctor and they tell you cut down on your salt. Because when you walk around someplace like where I shop, Trader Joe's, and you pick up anything in a freezer section, it's just ridiculous how much salt is in everything.
Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy amounts of salt and things you think there wouldn't be any salt in. Soup is like 75% salt.
Yeah, and then when you get the soup that doesn't have any salt, you go, God, this needs salt. I mean, I get why it's there.
But even if you add your own, you're still adding so much less than they do in the process.
Of course, you're right.
Well, if you make it yourself, you can put in other stuff, and you don't need to put in any salt. Of course, then you have to stand there and make soup.
Right. There's that.
Yeah, somebody who's making a Beyond Burger isn't making their own soup.
Well, I have done both, and it's much easier to make a Beyond Burger, that's for sure.
I'm excited about this Beyond Burger. I'm glad you told me that because.
Yeah, no, you will definitely like it.
Oh, it's so great, and you can serve it to anybody, and they'll love it. And you put, onion and tomato and lettuce, whatever, and it just.
I guess you just shouldn't be eating.
What is it? What did you say?
Shouldn't eat too many a week.
Yeah, that's true. First time I tried one, I thought, this is great. I'm going to have like 4 of them. Yeah, great. You'll be in a coma or something.
Well, Umami serves them double. It's a double.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that.
I don't either.
I would like a single.
I'm sure we could probably request it. I'll try that this time.
I mean,
I'll
ladies,
get back to you guys.
Well, I did request it the next time I went in there, and they said, no, we just serve that. They would charge you the same for 1 as they do for 2, which is the kind of thing that is hard to wrap your brain around as well.
Ma'am, this is America. You're going to have 2 or you're going to get charged for 2. Right.
Right. It's like that 5 Easy Pieces scene suddenly.
Yeah.
Take one of the burgers out.
Oh, Merrill. Well, we have to wrap up with you. Anything in closing you would like to share with us?
Do I have anything to promote? No.
Okay.
I'm writing things, but they're not anywhere near promotable.
Andy Kindler says to say hello.
Oh, Andy Kindler. I love Andy Kindler.
Jay Elvis does a podcast with Andy Kindler.
Ah.
Yes,
it's a little, it's like them talking just back and forth every week. It's called Thought Spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that would be the way it is to talk to Andy Kindler.
That is
Spiral.
Thus the title.
I always try to figure out when I listen how much weed was smoked before the episode.
I forbid Andy from smoking before the episode.
Is that?
Yes, I do.
Andy is hilarious.
Yes, he is.
Because you talk about weed in the latest episode, right out of the chute.
Yes, because he just finally got the first legal taste of the legal.
Okay.
I've never been to any of those stores or anything. It's a weird whole new world to look into.
It's a
of course, you have to tell someone you have
world.
arthritis or something, don't you?
You don't have to. Not anymore. Now you can just walk in and say, "I want some
seriously? And just buy some edibles."
Do they have it with heme? So it's juicy weed.
Juicy weed.
We got the weed that bleeds.
Merrill, thank you.
Thanks, Merrill.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I'll see you later.
So long.
Bye.
Josh and Heather, I've enjoyed our time sharing reflections and.
You're getting weird, Mark.
I'd like
what
to.
What happened to you today?
Are you on the weed?
Actually, a guy gave me one of those. What do you call those, Josh? It looks like a syringe.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's got liquid in it.
Right.
Oh.
And it's well, you can take
concentrate.
a hit.
Yeah, it's extract.
Okay. So, but it's a special blend of the sativa and something like it's part brain.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid.
You
Thank
mean like not a syringe, like an eyedropper?
No. Well, it looks to me like a syringe almost.
Well, I mean,
it looks like a thin syringe or a thick syringe, depending on how.
Well, generally those syringes are used to fill up
typically
to fill up a cartridge for a vape pen.
Right. It looks like a vape. Looks like a vape pen.
Is it
I
a
guess.
vape pen? It might be a vape pen.
I think it is probably a vape pen.
Was there a button on it that you smoke it from?
I haven't looked at it yet. Okay. That's what I want to tell you. I'm kind of like I don't get high, and like guy gave me this. It looks just really cool, like the box and everything. It looks like something like there's going to be jewelry inside, and you open it up.
It's a vape pen.
Bring it in next week, and I'll either show you how to use it or take it off your hands.
Yeah, he's totally taking it.
I don't think anybody's going to show me how to use it, but maybe I do.
You can probably YouTube it.
I said, "How long will this stuff last?" If you take a hit, because I don't get high, and he said, "Well, probably just a couple of hours." So I don't want to do it before I.
You won't. Not even from a hit from a vape pen isn't even going to last a couple of hours.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, don't it's not 5 minutes either, but.
Yeah.
Do it before you go to bed.
But
yeah, that's it.
Give yourself some space.
Or watch a movie or something.
Give yourself some space.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of movies, real quick, Heather, you're an actress.
Yeah.
Tell me what movies you were really excited about.
Well, I saw because we get the screeners or a handful of them anyway, and I really liked 3 Billboards, and then felt really bad because everybody was just totally shit canning it. And
why? I think it's like one of the leading movies of the year.
Oh, drunk white cop. Crying, the Sam Rockwell.
Forgiving
These are the
racist
white cop. Like just the criticisms of it were calling it. What was the one movie? Crash. The Crash of 2017.
Oh, I think that's
remember
a
when
bad.
Crash went?
Yeah, I remember.
Because I actually really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorites that I watched.
It's on everybody's best list. All the critics.
I haven't watched it yet.
You haven't? It
I
was
have the screener,
good.
but I
And The
haven't
Big
watched it.
Sick, I really enjoyed.
Big Sick was terrific.
Yeah.
Did you see Molly's game? We had Molly on the show.
We actually went to the theater to see it. During one of the lawyer segments, I suddenly remembered it was Aaron Sorkin. And I was like, because 5 of those lawyer bits could have been probably cut out of the movie.
Right.
It's just like waxing poetic.
On the fifth lawyer speech.
Yeah.
But you know that Idris Elba, I will say this, because those Aaron Sorkin speeches are really rough sometimes. Rough meaning they're just, you feel like,
They aren't human behavior.
Thank
Correct.
you. Yeah. But he is a good actor because he did somehow make that seem like something that was coming out organically or as close to it as.
Well,
did she.
His stuff comes out better out of lawyers and politicians' mouths than it does out of civilians' mouths.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because he fancies himself that.
Which is why I think she did such a good job, because she sort of had a lot of that back and forth dialogue with him.
Yeah.
And she wasn't a lawyer. I mean, she was obviously a smart woman, but it came pretty natural out of her mouth, too.
Yeah, I liked it. I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought Michael Shure played
Tubby Maguire.
really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
Some of the stuff that she had told us about Toby.
All of it.
I mean, it was all there. Although, like, she told us about how he was chiseling, remember, on the shuffle machine?
Yeah.
that's right.
He got a shuffle machine for her, and then he charged the game $200 a game for it. Like, he doesn't need the money. It's just the point is he likes to win. He likes to always get something.
I went back and listened to that episode after I saw the movie, and it was exact.
Yeah, we rebroadcast it. That Molly's game, the real Molly thought she was really good.
What did you like?
I liked.
Did you see Shape of Water?
I liked Shape of Water.
Is it going to win Best Picture?
God, that's unreal. I mean, I don't know. First of all, I have one quick thing to say about the Oscars. We all know they're bullshit. You can't compare movies. You can't do it. I mean, you can say it's like comparing pieces of art. You just can't do it. They're completely different. And they're designed, the Oscars, to promote film. And they do it really well. But the idea of comparing even performances, I mean, you can say, well, I thought Josh was better than Bob in that movie. Maybe there's some times when you can say that. But in general, it's very hard.
When it's me and Bob, you can always assume I'm better.
Anyway, so having said that, it's really hard for me to pick. There's not one standout. I loved Get Out, for example. I thought that might have been like one of the best movies I saw all year. But I mean, you're going to compare Get Out to Shape of Water?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. So
Are you going to tune in?
Jimmy Kimmel's hosting. I love Jimmy. Yeah, I'll probably watch the beginning anyway. And then tick, 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 tick,
Speed through.
Yeah. Heather, I just love having you here, and I hate to wrap up.
Me too.
Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Josh. It was like we didn't skip a beat, except Josh has dropped like 25 more pounds. You just keep wilting away.
How good does Josh look?
He looks fantastic.
Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome.
You can stay in touch with Heather by subscribing to our show because we'll keep you posted on Heather's progress. Maybe we'll have a picture of us all and we can post it on the website.
Okay.
And the website is edge-show.com. He is at J. Elvis Weinstein on Twitter.
Follow it just like Merrill Markoe does.
She is at Heather Ankeny on Twitter, and I'm at Mark T. Live on Twitter. Oh, and, our show has an email address now.
Oh, what is it?
It's edgewithmarkthompson@gmail.com.
Good, smart,
That's a
smart
mouthful.
call.
Put that on a pencil.
Yeah. Well, as you know, we called the show The Edge, which is a horrible name because there are a jillion shows called The Edge. So we couldn't get The Edge at Gmail, couldn't get Edge at Gmail, couldn't get
Edge-show at Gmail?
Edge-show would be hard to remember. So I thought.
Well, it's our web address. So.
We could do that. Edge-show at Gmail. I'm sure we can get that. Whoever's listening to this, don't fucking take that. God damn it.
Yeah, you guys.
We have a new Gmail address. Did you know?
Maybe.
All right. Bye, Heather.
Bye.
Bye, Josh.
Bye-bye.
Well, as it turns out, you can't get edge-show at Gmail because they don't take any dashes in Gmail land. So we remain edgewithmarkthompson@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you. Bye-bye.
First of all, it's great to be on the show with all of you and all that and all these things. I love it. And if you enjoy listening to The Edge, subscribe to The Edge on iTunes, the Stitcher, and you can totally listen to it on iHeartRadio.